The window. I came in the spring, and took the room on the roof. It was a long low building which housed several families. The roof was flat, except for my room and a chimney. I don't know whose room owned the chimney, but my room owned the roof. And from the window of my room I owned the world. But only from the window. The banyan tree, just opposite, was mine, and its inhabitants my subjects. They were 2 squirrels, a few mynas, a crow, and at night, a pair of flying foxes. The squirrels were busy in the afternoon, the birds in the morning and evening, the foxes at night. I wasn't very busy that year, not as busy as the inhabitants of the banyan tree. There was also a mango tree, but that came later, in the summer, when I met Koki and the mangoes were ripe. At first, I was lonely in my room. But then I discovered the power of my window. It looked out on the banyan tree, on the garden, on the broad path that ran beside the building, and out over the roofs of other houses, over roads and fields, as far as the horizon. The path was not a very busy one, but it held variety, an ayah, with a baby in a pram, the postman, an event in himself, the fruit seller, the toy seller, calling their wares in high-pitched familiar cries, the rent collector, a posse of cyclists, a long chain of schoolgirls, a lame beggar, all passed my way, the way of my window. In the early summer, a tonga came rattling and jingling down the path and stopped in front of the house. A girl and an elderly lady climbed down, and a servant unloaded their baggage. They went into the house and the tonga moved off, the horse snorting a little. The next morning the girl looked up from the garden and saw me at my window. She had long black hair that fell to her waist, tied with a single red ribbon. Her eyes were black like her hair and just as shiny. She must have been about 10 or 11 years old. "Hello," I said with a friendly smile. She looked suspiciously at me. "Who are you?" she asked. "I'm a ghost." She laughed, and her laugh had a gay, mocking quality. "You look like one." I didn't think her remark particularly flattering, but I had asked for it. I stopped smiling anyway. Most children don't like adults smiling at them all the time. "What have you got up there?" she asked. "Magic," I said. She laughed again, but this time without mockery. "I don't believe you," she said. "Why don't you come up and see for yourself?" She hesitated a little but came round to the steps and began climbing them, slowly, cautiously. And when she entered the room, she brought in a magic of her own. "Where's your magic?" she asked, looking me in the eye. "Come here," I said, and I took her to the window, and showed her the world. She said nothing but stared out of the window uncomprehendingly at first, and then with increasing interest. And after some time she turned round and smiled at me, and we were friends. I only knew that her name was Koki, and that she had come with her aunt for the summer months. I didn't need to know any more about her, and she didn't need know anything about me except that I wasn't really a ghost, not the frightening sort anyway. She came up my steps nearly every day, and joined me at the window. There was a lot of excitement to be had in our world, especially when the rains broke. At the first rumblings, women would rush outside to retrieve the washing on the clothesline and, if there was a breeze, to chase a few garments across the compound. When the rain came, it came with a vengeance, making a bog of the garden and a river of the path. A cyclist would come riding furiously down the path, an elderly gentleman would be having difficulty with an umbrella, naked children would be frisking about in the rain. Sometimes Koki would run out on the roof, and shout and dance in the rain. And the rain would come through the open door and window of the room, flooding the floor and making an island of the bed. But the window was more fun than anything else. It gave us the power of detachment. We were deeply interested in the life around us, but we were not involved in it. "It is like a cinema," said Koki. "The window is the screen, the world is the picture." Soon the mangoes were ripe, and Koki was in the branches of the mango tree as often as she was in my room. From the window I had a good view of the tree, and we spoke to each same height. We ate far too many mangoes, at least 5 a day. Let's make a garden on the roof, suggested Koki. She was full of ideas like this. And how do you propose to do that? I asked. It's easy. We bring up mud and bricks and make the flower beds. Then we plant the seeds. We'll grow all sorts of flowers. The roof will fall in, I predicted. But it didn't. We spent 2 days carrying buckets of mud up the steps to the roof and laying out the flower beds. It was very hard work, but Koki did most of it. When the beds were ready, we had the opening ceremony. Apart from a few small plants collected from the garden below, we had only one species of seeds, pumpkin. We planted the pumpkin seeds in the mud, and felt proud of ourselves. But it rained heavily that night, and in the morning I discovered that everything except the bricks had been washed away. So we returned to the window. Amina had been in a fight with the crow perhaps, and the feathers had been knocked off its head. A bougainvillea that had been climbing the wall had sent a long green shoot in through the window. Koki said, now we can't shut the window without spoiling the creeper. Then we will never close the window, I said. And we let the creeper into the room. The rains passed, and an autumn wind came whispering through the branches of the banyan tree. There were red leaves on the ground, and the wind picked them up and blew them about, so that they looked like butterflies. I would watch the sun rise in the morning, the sky all red, until its first rays splashed the windowsill and crept up the walls of the room. And in the evening Koki and I watched the sun go down in a sea of fluffy clouds. Sometimes the clouds were pink, and sometimes orange. They were always colored clouds, framed in the window. I'm going tomorrow, said Koki one evening. I was too surprised to say anything. You stay here forever, don't you? She said. I remained silent. When I come again next year you will still be here, won't you? I don't know, I said, but the window will still be here. Oh, do be here next year, she said, or someone will close the window. In the morning the Tonga was at the door, and the servant, the aunt, and Koki were in it. Koki waved up to me at my window. Then the driver flicked the reins, the wheels of the carriage creaked and rattled, the bell jingled. Down the path went the Tonga, down the path and through the gate, and all the time Koki waved, and from the gate I must have looked like a ghost, standing alone at the high window, amongst the bougainvillea. When the Tonga was out of sight I took the spray of bougainvillea in my hand and pushed it out of the room. Then I closed the window. It would be opened only when the spring and Koki came again.